1, 2, 3.
Hello, and welcome to some bonus dopey material. My name is Dave, and I'm with dopey YouTube producer Howie.
Dopey YouTube producer.
How you feel, Howie?
It's still, I don't feel great. Look at this.
How's that? That's better. Now I'm more in the frame. So Howie wanted me to tell a story. So I'm going to tell a story that I know you guys, some of you guys have heard. The timer isn't even on, you fucking Howie.
You need a timer for this?
Yeah, you don't want a timer? I thought that's the whole point of having a timer.
Oh my God. How many more things can I do at once?
I don't know. I guess not that. Anybody who's a hardcore dopey fan has probably heard this story. Howie's like, you should tell a story. So, all right, I'll tell a story. Howie, do you want to hear the story of when I went to Northern California to trim weed?
To trim weed?
Yeah, to work on a weed plantation.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
I didn't know that happened.
I was inspired to tell this story by this plant was on the desk. And this is, of course, not a marijuana plant. It is a cherry tomato plant that we will plant in the yard soon. All right. So I'm going to set the scene for you, Howard and Dopey Nation. It was, I don't know what year it was. It's probably 2005 or I don't know. That period between 2001 and 2008 is like gone. I have no idea of any of those years. None. Zero. Nothing. I was living in California. The other day I was watching a movie called Homegrown, and it made me think about this story. And all right, I was living in Echo Park in Los Angeles. I was on roughly 150 milligrams of methadone. I was using heroin. I was using pills, smoking weed, and I was living with this woman, and this woman was connected with a weed grower, right, in Northern California. And he offered me a job to trim, which was my lifelong fantasy. And he offered me to trim. Here, put yourself on the screen. He offered me to trim for 30 days of work, where he was going to pay me like a bunch of money every day and give me a bunch of bud.
For a month.
And I had, I needed to secure a 30-day supply of methadone, which I told them I got hired to work on, I think probably a film shoot, I said. And after a lot of haranguing, and I needed like X amount of months of clean urine, I got 30 bottles of methadone. I think they gave me like a nice little box.
Is methadone a pill or is it liquid?
Well, it's actually a pill, but at the methadone clinic, they take the pill and they crush it up in a plastic bottle with like Kool-Aid, cherry Kool-Aid. And you have a little bottle like this.
Oh, okay.
And it's like you have to press and turn it and, you know. So.
And each one is a dosage.
Each one,
methadone.
I think, had roughly either 130 or 150 milligrams of methadone, which is a very big dose. And so I pack the car with methadone. I have a bottle full of Xanax. I think I had some heroin too, and I had some weed.
Methadone and heroin.
Yeah, and I start driving, and I'm a terrible driver. You know, if anybody didn't know this, I'm a terrible driver. The frame is all wrong, by the way. Oh, it's so annoying. Our life is just. Why am I on this side of the frame? Why can't
Move
you
over?
It can't go any further. Okay, so it's like
move the whole desk. Uh-oh, it's stuck. It's stuck.
It's worse.
Maybe you moved it the wrong direction.
Well, it's all opposite.
Yeah, I think you want to slide more that way. Yeah, there you go. Oh,
there we go.
Perfect.
All right, so
yeah,
It's a 7-hour drive from Echo Park to don't even remember the town. It began with a V, outside
Valhalla?
of Marin.
Valhalla.
Fuck. Let's see if I can find it really quickly.
Oh, that's an important detail.
It is.
It really is.
Northern California town that starts
With V.
with V. Go. Oh, God.
Is methadone free?
No, it's cheap, though.
So the purpose of methadone is to replace the heroin.
Oh, no, it wasn't a V. It was Sedona, California.
Oh, Sedona. There you
Or
go.
Sonoma or something. I don't know where. I was on drugs. I don't remember where I
El
went.
Segundo.
So I'm driving north. Methadone isn't free, but it's cheap. It's
And it's to replace heroin.
yeah, and methadone and heroin's expensive. So and a month of heroin might be, I mean, I didn't have money then, so I wasn't doing a lot of heroin, but like a month of heroin back then might have been $3,000 or something like that, and a month of methadone was like $100
Wow.
or like less.
And it has the same effect?
No, it doesn't really get you high. Heroin gets you high. Methadone makes sure you don't get sick. And you get a little high. You get a little sleepy. And if you took methadone, you'd get very high, but it's not like an acute high. It's like
overall. An overall.
Well, it's an opiate. It connects to it's a synthetic opioid that sticks to your opioid receptors, and it makes you feel like you have opioids. And so you don't feel high, you don't go into withdrawal, and you feel okay. So
Sounds good.
I mean, people call them liquid handcuffs because it's really hard to get off of them. You gain weight, you get thick, you get slow, you get sleepy.
Doesn't sound good.
It's not good. It's not good.
So you have a month's supply.
I have a month's supply
And some heroin and some...
a little bit of heroin, a bottle of Xanax, and some weed. And I hit the open road, and I'm a terrible driver. And I hit the open road, and like literally, like I would be nodding out while I was driving because I was high on benzos and heroin. So I would pull over and take a nap. Then I'd drive a little more.
How long is the drive?
Like 7 hours.
Oh, okay.
And then I'd drive a little bit more, and I remember pulling into like some like rest stop, and there were all these pigeons or some kind of birds. I remember running and making the birds fly and taking out of focus pictures with my camera. And
you're by yourself?
By myself.
Okay.
And I probably finished the heroin in that guest stop, and then I'm like, I take off again, but I'm probably nodding, so I pull over again, maybe take another nap, maybe smoke some weed, smoke cigarettes, whatever. And when I probably left at like 8 in the morning. It probably took me 15 hours to get there. And when I get to the town, it's dark. All right. And I'm high and kind of scared. You know what I mean? Because it's dark and like I'm too high to be driving and I don't know where I am.
Right.
I don't think they had GPS.
No. Sure
I don't think I had GPS, you know. And
MapQuest.
I think I had MapQuest sheets, yeah. And I get to the town and I find like the turn to go into the country, and I get pulled over by the cops. Okay. And I remember, like at night when there's like, if you get pulled over by the cops at night and they have that red siren going, so there's that kind of red light on you. And I was so high, but I was like, and the guy's like, where are you going? And I was like, oh, I'm going to work with my friend. And he's like, he sees the pill bottle on the front seat, and he's like, what's this? And I think I was prescribed. I had a prescription for Xanax, and I was like, oh, I have a prescription for this. And he was like, okay. And he sees the weed. It's in the front seat. I said, oh, I have a prescription for this too. And I had a prescription for weed. And then he's like, can I look in the trunk? And I was like, yeah, okay. And I open up the trunk, and there's the 30 bottles of methadone. And I was like, I have a prescription for this too. I had finished the heroin. And he was like, okay. He didn't even give me a ticket. He just told me where to go. Like loaded. Like, I mean, you couldn't be more loaded.
You think he probably didn't know.
What do you mean? You couldn't be more loaded than I was, but legally loaded with prescriptions for weed, methadone, and Xanax. And I get to the town, and I barely knew the guy I was staying with, but he was a really nice guy. I would not be able to recognize him out of a lineup now,
right?
Or know his name or anything, but he was a really nice guy. And he had a little shed on the plantation, and I slept on the floor, and he had like a wood burning stove. It was like kind of romantic. It was like kind of like, but nothing happened.
Sounds great.
And in the morning I started trimming with these hippies, and first we drove out, we smoked weed. I saw elks bucking in the wilderness, you know, in the valley, and I was like, this is the most beautiful place ever. And the house is like a fucking beautiful house, and all this bud, and everybody's just trimming weed. And you know, and I drank my methadone, I took some Xanax, and I don't think I stopped talking the whole time, right? And I want to say, at the end of the day, the owner took me aside and said, you got to go.
Because you were talking too much?
Because I was too annoying. I was probably nodding out also. I was like probably the worst person ever. I was the worst person, and it was my dream to trim weed. You know what I mean? He gave me a quarter ounce of weed, and he said, off you go. And I went home with,
So
with
it
20.
lasted one day.
One day. I went home with 28 bottles of methadone and like some Xanax. And I don't know what I did. I don't know exactly what I did to get fired. But
Well, you were probably just not productive, right?
I was unproductive.
Yeah.
I was annoying. I was probably nodding. And that's my story of working on a weed plantation.
What a wasted opportunity. That could have been fun.
Yeah, I don't remember it. And maybe it was. I don't think so.
It was fun for like 5 hours.
I do know this. I drove home. I don't remember the drive home at all. I do remember I don't feel shame anymore about this.
Right.
But the shame I felt when I got home lasted for years. It was acute shame that I was ousted from a hippie fucking weed farm that I got
You
hired
can't even
to trim.
handle that.
No. And I was fired, and it was horrible.
And that's, well, yeah, I guess if you're an addict, there's everything in retrospect, you know.
Well,
makes
I
no
don't have
sense.
shame about it now. You know, I don't.
No, you don't have shame, but it's sort of like it would have been so simple for you to be successful.
What do you mean?
Just don't get high when you're working. That's all you have to do.
But I mean, I was totally addicted to everything.
I know,
There
but
was
I'm saying-
there wasn't even high. There was just my status quo was way down. You know what I mean? My normal was at the bottom of the hill.
Right.
And I don't feel shame about that experience anymore, but I feel the echoes of shame. Like I know how ashamed I was then.
Right. Well, that's good. It's a good reminder.
I don't know. It was
You
bad.
If you think about it in today's, you know, in the context today, you'd say, well, if I have a job, if I have responsibilities, and I don't show up, you know, ready to work, ready to be 100%, I'm going to feel that shame again. It's not like it solved your problem right away. You went through a shameful period, but then you were still an addict for years after that.
No, I probably used even more, and I was just so depressed that I couldn't even keep that together at all. I didn't even like make it a week. Like I think I made it one day.
Well, how much of the addiction is depression, where you're just so done with yourself?
It's just a what do you call that? It's like
Spiral?
yeah, exactly.
Like it's a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yeah, but I mean like and I don't want to get into like why was I an addict and all that stuff that you always want to get into.
No, we talked about that.
Yeah,
on a previous special.
I wanted to stay high. I just wanted to stay high. Like that was all I really cared about. And I stayed high for many, many years. And then now I'm not high anymore.
Look at that.
So there you go. That's our
that
story. Stay strong. What do you think, Howie? Any other questions? And not about the nature
I
of
can't believe that you fucked up that opportunity. Would have been fun.
Yeah, it wasn't fun. But the elks bucking in the mist, I can never
was-
forget
that was
that. Yes.
Well, you could always go back and trim. Could you do that today?
Trim.
if some-
no,
yeah.
no.
Because you'd be too tempted to.
I wouldn't want to. Like, what would I want to go trim weed if I'm not smoking? It's like working in a sweatshop. Like, why would I want to do that?
Well, what was the only reason why you wanted to do it initially was so that you have access?
I would not mind. I don't need. It's like retard. It's not smart to go.
Yeah.
Be an addict in recovery and say, "Oh, I would love to trim weed for a day." That's what we call self-deception. You
'Cause
understand?
I would like to trim. What is trimming weed?
Okay, you have bud grows and a good farmer will grow these, they're called cola buds, and they can be like this long.
Okay.
But they also have leaves coming out of them, and you can't smoke the leaves. You can smoke the leaves, but you don't want to. You want to just smoke the bud because the leaves have a much lower THC
Okay.
quantity or whatever, consistency, whatever the word I'm looking for is.
Yeah,
So you trim the leaves and then you smoke the bud. So you're trimming all these buds so they don't have leaves, and it's like manicuring them basically.
And then what happens to all of the other stuff?
The leaves and stuff?
Yeah, stems and leaves. What can they just throw it out? Just
yeah, compost. And they get also a ton of keef, and keef is like the THC crystallizes on the bud, and when the crystals fall off, they make that into keef. They make it into something called shattered. They make it into they make them into all these extracts.
And are those used? Those are just sold as other products?
They get you really, 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 really high.
Huh. Look at that.
There you go. All right.
I love it.
Good.
All right.
Stay strong, Dopey Nation. And fucking toodles for Chris. He loved that story.
No, baby, I'm face down on the floor. No, baby, please, sir, can I have some more? No, baby,